Hi there, welcome back to another text and talk. It's Stellaris Death Diary 60 Psionics and the Shroud. There's going to be something exciting about the new Utopia expansion. So what they're saying first is they're making a new way of how psionic works. It's going to be about the Ascension perks, and if you have the banks update and do not own Utopia, Psionics will be still technologies, and if you have the Utopia expansion, then it will work like we'll discuss over here. Now, some of these things will then be technologies if you don't have Utopia and still work, and some, the Shroud paid feature, will only be there if you buy Utopia. But I mean, if you're listening to a Dev Diary text and talk, you'll probably want to buy Utopia at some day. So, it is... Psionics is now connected to the Psionics Ascension path, and it can now only be researched by Spiritualist Empire. Though it is entirely possible for an empire that does not start out as Spiritualist to acquire psionics by shifting their empire ethics to Spiritualist over the course of the game. And you can then start being a psionic to expand your mind. I mean, who doesn't want to be a psionic, right? Do you want great mental powers? I know I do, so I'll buy the Utopia expansion so they can teach me that. No. So, only psionic theory, the first psionic tech, is still researchable. And for the rest you need the Mind over Matter Ascension perk. Start your empire on the psionic ascension path. It will unlock latent psionic abilities among your primary species. A certain percentage of your leaders will have the psychic trait that grants a variety of advantages for the different leader classes. You'll get access to psionic armies, like before. You had the Psi-Knights and all that kind of stuff. I've loved them. And also the special Psy-Corps building. And as with all Ascension paths, you'll have to have at least 2 Ascension perk slots unlocked to pick Mind over Matter. So what is that? Let's read. Since the dawn of our civilization, tales have flourished of mighty sorcerers wielding powers that can only be described as supernatural in nature. These rare Kevanti, in that case, Kevanti, could supposedly invade the minds of their fellows, lift heavy objects with merely a thought, or perform any number of other magical feats. Until recently, these stories were just that. Stories. Now, however, our scientists have finally obtained conclusive evidence that proves the psionic potential inherent in certain Savanti individuals. Although only a very small minority of our species as a whole seems to be gifted with psionic powers, their numbers relative to the total population have grown steadily over just the last few centuries. Whether this is due to some kind of sudden evolutionary growth spurt, or because something has triggered latent psionic abilities that were always present in our genetic Diluvian code, scientists cannot say. A glimpse, perhaps, of the future that awaits us. Really like that. And you can see here, you can recruit leaders that... I mean, that guy is a psionics researcher and also has the psychic marker. So he has higher survey speed and 10% more research speed. So he's same as a genius, just a little bit better with the survey speed. Very nice. So after picking that Mind over Matter, you'll need to continue amassing unity. That's like culture points or something in Civilization. Unlocking that path. Working your way through the tradition trees. Once you've unlocked your 4th Ascension perk slot, the Transcendent Ascension perk becomes available. So you're basically you need to do Zen in real world or something like that to reach transcendence. Here, you'll do that through the 4th Ascension perk slot. This is the 2nd stage in the Psionic Ascension path and represents the full psionic awakening of your species. From this point on, your entire species will get the psionic species trait, and all leaders from this species will be full-fledged psychics, which is very good, as you see here. In addition to the advantages granted by these traits, from now on there's also a chance that other species in your empire will psionically awaken, first as latent psychics, and then as fully awakened ones, much like your own. So, a multi-people psychic empire, that's gonna be great. There are going to be psionic schools even. So that is then called probably the Great Awakening. The Savanti species has experienced. It can only be described as a Great Awakening. For the time now, we've been aware of the great psionic potential inherent in our species, but such powers have only manifested themselves in a small minority. Until now, almost overnight, Savanti everywhere have unlocked their full psionic capacity. It is as if some sort of communal pool of Savanti psychic energy finally reached a critical tipping point, collectively awakening the latent abilities of our brains. Telepathy has already replaced most verbal communication between Savanti, and this is only one small example of the innumerable changes our society is faced with. We are now tied together in a way few of us could have ever imagined. The veil has been lifted. Oh, these species, these stories, we can play with that. That's gonna be great. And it is also very good gameplay-wise. I really love it. It's a little bit, I can imagine it may be a little bit fantasy-ish for like serious science fiction people. But on the other hand, I mean, Stephen Hawking is directing a machine with a power of, I don't know if it is one eyelid or already his thoughts. Please enlighten me. That is already pretty close to a psionic, right? I mean, there are helmets now for locked-in patients in a constant coma that enable them to communicate with the outer world with the power of just their thoughts. I mean, these locked-in patients, they cannot move anything, like, except maybe no, I think not anything. Maybe their pupils or something like that. And they can now, they have these helmets that are in development, and they can they're at the stage where they can say yes or no with the power of their thoughts. So there is something to it. Also science is in there. So what is then coming? What's the next step? The Shroud paid feature. The veil has been lifted. Not long after fully awakening, your species will become aware of the Shroud. The Shroud is the realm from which psychics draw their power. A strange dimension, very unlike the material universe, a place of opportunity and danger alike. To begin exploring the Shroud, you'll need to complete a special society research project that, once completed, will give you access to the Shroud in the contact's view. Each time you wish to enter the Shroud, you'll need to expend a considerable amount of energy in the form of energy credits, though this cost can be reduced by having access to the throw dust strategic resource. Oh, we know that already, right? It was making you fly faster in some sort of psychic advantage. Was it that? I think it was that. So, the Shroud. Like a muffled whisper in a dark room, the Shroud calls to us. From within our minds, it is a primordial realm of pure psychic energy that came into being at the dawn of time. All creatures that have been gifted with psionic abilities tap into the Shroud in some way to draw power, even if only subconsciously. Since our transcendence, we have begun to see the Shroud with greater clarity. There are patterns where once even our strongest telepaths could see only a formless mass of swirling energy. There are other things as well, spirits of assault that gaze back on us from the other side. Sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with kindness, and sometimes with malice. We are still in the process of learning the extent of our new powers, but it may be possible for us to commune with these spirits. It will require the combined efforts of our most powerful telepaths. We must explore the Shroud. Oh, that's gonna be exciting, right? There's so many possibilities of how you play the game. Like, the replay value is uncountable. It's even hard to finish a game, and the game is now exciting from the start to the end already, and now we get this. Can it get better? We'll see. Is it too much? I don't think so. It's not too much. Not yet. The Shroud. It's unbelievably strange, unsettling, familiar. Anyone with psionic powers will have seen this place in their dreams. And we linger now at the precipice of this realm, not far from the empty void of the in-between. That serves as a boundary between here and normal space, or what we would call the real world. So can you have access to another plane? Like what you would have in the early WoW, if you remember that. I mean, you could Google it. Master of Magic? Master of Magic it was called. There you had access to an underworld realm, so it was like a fantasy civilization where you could discover and build cities on the normal world, and then you would find gates, strange gates, and these would lead to the other side of the world, like some kind of hell dimension, and there you could also build cities, but with devilish, ghost-like creatures and something like that. So you can reach into the Shroud or exit the Shroud. For what can happen while exploring the Shroud, quite a few different things. I'll not give them all away here, but some examples include unlocking psionic technologies, asking the spirits that dwell there for a boon, or even forming a covenant with one of a number of particularly powerful spirits, a pact that will give great benefits, but may come at a terrible cost. Cthulhu! Oh my god. The voices introduce themselves as whisperers in the void. If they claim they claim to be privy to all knowledge whispered in secrecy from one mortal to another, and offer to share of these secrets with us, if we will only allow them into our consciousness. A trifling price, they assure us. We will barely even notice their presence. There is an urgency to the tone. Oh my god. A deal with the devil. Oh. And what's gonna go wrong is gonna go wrong, right? This place is Shroud marked. Something very bad is going to happen here. Oh my god. What's going to happen here? Ooh. That is real. I mean, that's the spiritual realm if you've ever seen one. So being a spiritual empire not only means that your people behave like in a spiritual way, but you also have access now to a spiritual world, a spiritual ascension. It's gonna be a great difference now what ethics you have, not only from the modifiers or something. It will play differently. So it's like a game within the game for each of these. And you need to learn it anew, probably, if you are on the highest level. You'll need to learn anew how to play like a spiritual one. And I'm really curious as will the other Will the other ethics also be as connected with the Ascension perks as this? And will we see more dev diaries about that before the game comes out? Well, Wiz has written, was it Riz? Let's see, yeah, Wiz, that next time it will be about factions again and how you can use them to change your empire ethics and indoctrination. So I would say to you in this very monotonous voice, you need to subscribe now, subscribe now. This is no indoctrination. Don't be suspicious. Subscribe now, and we'll see each other in the next dev diary or in another video on the channel. Happy gaming to you. See you in the next episode of anything, and subscribe. This is no indoctrination. Subscribe. Have fun, guys.